welcome back to Pommy and All's. Hope we're all doing absolutely awesome today. And today what we're doing is our famous Carlton versus GWS, the preview. It's the big game. Carlton 2 games clear of the 8. And this game potentially all but seals finals, which is a weird one for the Blues, isn't it? I mean, I'm still getting used to actually being relatively good. Round 19, a real chance here, dependent on results, to really pretty much have one foot in the finals door. GWS, obviously, they're a bit of a higgledy-piggledy side, aren't they? They went down quite triumphantly, really, by 40 points to Lions last week in the Manuka Oval, and a 5-12 win-loss record. It's not really something that you'd expect from GWS. They've had a change of coach. They've kind of found some stabilisation, but it's still not quite there. The fundamentals, though, of GWS still remain the same. They're a hard tackling side, still top 3 in the comp, and they also transition really well, which is a little bit of an irk for Carlton. However, they really haven't quite found their groove, and it's a weird one when you watch them coming on the 2-loss win streak. It doesn't get much tougher than having to play Carlton, does it really? At Marvel, which does help the Blues out, as we know they are a stronger side there. It's a very interesting one for GWS, though, their year. It's been a real disappointing year. And the way that the AFL works, do you know what I mean? Even though they are 15th, do you know what I mean? They really are playing for something in the terms of a bit of credibility and a real stabilisation. There is rumours already that players are leaving. How that affects them, you don't know. Interim coach, you don't know. But genuinely, on the whole, this game on paper seems straightforward. However, GWS this season haven't really mixed their potential. They're not a scoring side. They've really struggled to get inside 50s, get it forward. And really, on paper, they've been a real poor side this year, which is a shame because GWS are a side that has been a staple in and around the 8. And it's really something now that at the end of the year, they're going to have to really address. Carlton, on the other hand, absolutely flying 11-6. They went down last week to a very, very disciplined GWS side and got Geelong side, and they'll be looking this week to really bounce back. They're at Marvel, where traditionally this year they've had the better scores. Charlie Curnow and Harry have a very good record there. It's kind of the perfect place because there is still question marks about Carlton when the conditions aren't perfect. The Marvel, you're always going to get perfect conditions. But Carlton have really be happy. They're the number 1 ball retention side in the comp, number 2 in marks. They play a real controlled formulation of game. They'll be going into this game looking at the tackle numbers. Obviously, Carlton don't quite put the pressure on where GWS can do, and that's going to be an area of concern for Carlton. But Carlton will be looking at this game and thinking, you know what, they've had a few outs, we should be fine. What we've got to do is play our way, and if we play our way, it does stack up. As the season has shown with Carlton, Carlton's statistics and Carlton's actual game plan does really come up and stand the test of time versus the top teams. It's about implementing it for a little bit longer, and a little bit of maturity needs to come in, which we should see because Carlton now are back to almost full strength. There's only a couple of players there, but the guy in your picture there, Mitch McGovern, comes in, and I think that's integral to Carlton because it means that we can turn defence into attack, and that is something that last week showed. 62 points for Geelong versus 20 points from Carlton. The ability to turn your attack into your strength is a real, real big one. The selections then, a few selection here changes as we wait for the finalised teams. Obviously, huge outs for them. Josh Kelly and Tom Green and Connor Iden are injured, and a lot of people will talk about Connor Iden, who is does play a very important role for GWS in their backline structure. He's not the superstar that most people would talk about, but the ability that he's shown this year has been really poignant. I'm a big fan of Connor, and I think that a lot of people say that, you know, his work kind of goes understated, whether it's locking down or looking for them intercept runs. He is kind of a tricky customer, and he does allow players like Harry Himmelberg and Sam Taylor to peel off and really take them intercept marks. Jesse Hogan also and Matt Flynn make way for them. And potentially a debut for Cam Fleet and Lee Kalia. It's going to be an interesting one, this, because Carlton will look at their outs and say that, you know, although they've brought in Braden Bruce, Jared Brander, their new acquisitions, Carlton will look and think, you know what, their outs are very key. And Josh Kelly is particularly very key in how he gets them going. He's a very big metronome for them. So Carlton will like that. Carlton, on the other hand, they've got some big ins this week. Mitch McGovern returns, and that is huge. Will Setterfield on the back of his 40 touches, which would allude to me that maybe Cottrell or Nunes will drop out. He did play, if you watch the VFL wrap, it was a very Cherry slight Nunes role, played at defensive halfback as well at times, playing 90% on the wing. So you'd imagine Carlton drop a wing out. You'd imagine Paddy Dow gets his chance as well, a guy that has really been waiting in the wings. It's an exciting one, that one, because this game here with Hewitt being injured is a big one for Carlton, because obviously that's going to be a little bit of a centre and stoppage clearance change. And we get that fleet of foot of Dow. How that works, we don't know. But this is a game here where, you know, Dow opportunities aren't going to come much longer. We keep saying that. He's waiting for an injury to them big three, really. Hewitt, Cripps, Kennedy. We've had one. He's in. He is going to be able to get that presumably 70-80% on ball time, which is what he feasts on in the VFL. And one thing that has impressed me about Dow this season has been his continuity. He's really, really focused at the task at hand. Lockie O'Brien comes back in. I think that is a real important thing. We know he went down last week to work on things. Particularly a highlight was his ability in defensive transition. Really focusing at getting back, being an outlet ball and setting it up. So the thought of him and Mitch McGovern, I think, is huge. And I really do think Mitch McGovern is a key cog in Carlton's system. And I'm really looking forward to this. So for me, these selections for Carlton, it's advantage the Blues. Keys to winning then for GWS is keeping that pressure around the ball. GWS, they're a very high tackle side. They really look to do it. They really do stifle opposition as well, tackling against them. And that is the big thing. They force errors. And although they don't force errors enough, they are very good at taking away the space. And that is probably the blueprint to beating Carlton. If you can take away the short option, things do fall apart at the seams. For Carlton is really sticking to their game plan and really honing it. I go back to Stephen May last year, who talked about how Melbourne had a real belief in their system, whether they were winning, losing or drawing, that as long as they played their way, it would be fine. That is something that Carlton have really got to focus on this week. Play it. It is going to be tough. GWS have got players there that can hurt it. I think with Tom Green out, that's a huge one for them because he really does put that pressure on. But I'll be looking at Cripps and Cherry this game as guys that can really look to exploit it. And that is a big key for Carlton. Obviously, Carlton will be looking to take the game on, particularly around stoppage and clearances. That'll be an area that Carlton will be looking at this side and saying, you know what, we have the matchups here, we can do it. Down back is a big one for Carlton as well. Can they create score launches? That's what separates, in my firm belief, us from the best. The best sides have another avenue to go when the chips are down, and that is scores in transition. They've been down, and they have been considerably down, really, since Mitch went out of the side and Carlton started having their backline issues. Mitch McGovern is a huge acquisition to this side, and I am really excited about seeing that fast-paced brand that we're used to against the GWS. What will happen if? Well, if they take away the short option and they can keep them pressure levels up, which is going to be a very big ask, I have to warn you, we could see Carlton implode. We've seen it all year. This is one of them games that you look at and go, everything says Carlton win, but as this season has proven, if you don't play your way and impact your brand, you are in a world of trouble. And that is something that Carlton will have learnt a harsh lesson last week. Them last 10 minutes in the first, they really showed that when they play their way, they can trouble the top four side. It's about being a bit braver. It's about being a bit more committed. It's about really taking that schoolboy bully mentality into the game and standing up and be counted. And this is a game that if Carlton look at, they can do. But if GWS really put them pressure around the ball, take away the short option and make Carlton kick long, could be a long night for the boys. And the longer it stays close, the longer Carlton will be troubled. If Carlton get their centre dominance, which I suspect they will, even with TDK against Bruce. Bruce has been out for a while now. And although I really rate Bruce as one of the best ruckmen in the comp, he definitely is a rhythm ruckman. So Carlton will be looking to exploit that. I I think their work around the ball is going to be important, and I think that Carlton have got to really focus their energies of being strong around stoppage, look for each other, get them ball moving quickly. That's a big thing with Carlton. It's not so much the leg speed that kills them, it's their pace on the ball. When the pace is there on the ball, they're looking for inside runners. Carlton are looking for that O-word overlap. That'll look good. If Carlton can get that overlap, get that early ball inside, create them one-on-ones with Curnow and Mackay, GWS are in for a world of hurt, and I really do think that Carlton are going to respond hard after last week. Keys to winning for Carlton is really keeping it simple, looking for them overlap runs, looking for the inside ball, and really looking to impact the game, and that is it. You want to impose. They've got to go into this with the mindset they had against the Eagles. These guys aren't where they are in the ladder through fortune. It is literally by design. Ranked 15th in the comp. Carlton have got to look for that, and it is massive issues. This side are one of the worst sides at hemorrhaging clearances, hemorrhaging stoppage clearances. Bottom 5 for both of them stats. Carlton will be looking at this and going, this is where we impact. All signs lead to playing our way, it wins. And that is a key for Carlton. If Carlton get off there, get them dominance around the stoppage and clearance, they look to get the ball on the outside, they get the ball being transitioned and the ball in motion quickly. This can get messy mighty quick. And what Lions did, Carlton can do themselves. And I can see this game being a very, very dominant performance from the Blues, particularly after last week. If Carlton gets stifled, if Carlton gets short, if that pressure comes, we could see Carlton really keep this game close and put a lot of pressure on. And that is an interesting thing. Carlton under pressure go from about 78% kicking efficiency down into the low 60s and sometimes the high 50s. And that is where it comes unstuck. That ability to exit out of trouble. And that is a big thing. If it stays close for too long, this is a game that Carlton will worry about, because the longer this game stays close, the longer they'll believe. And it's about going in there and impacting it. Like the Eagles' first quarter, really putting the standard and putting your shop front out and saying, this is where we are. All in all, it should be a great game. I'm looking forward to this one. It's a team that we've had a lot of miserable memories against, GWS. And I'm looking to pay them back for that time that they beat us with only like 16 players on the field. I predict this one will be a 5-goal win for Carlton. I think that they are going to get it right this week. I'm backing them in, and I'm backing the boys to really put on a show. I think Curnow and Mackay are way too much, and I really do suspect that Chera, O'Brien and Dow are going to surprise a lot of people this week and really respond to criticism and also some of the questions. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. Join me on the watch along on Sunday afternoon. I can't wait to see you all. And until then, Pom out.